Hagen Court launches Commission of Inquiry. Grade 10 sit for final exams. And flooding threatens Highlands Highway.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening and welcome. This is Monday's news. A commission of inquiry has been set up by Mount Hagen National Court to look into human rights issues arising in police station cell blocks. The inquiry was initiated by the Mount Hagen resident judge, Justice Godwin Poole, to inquire an incident that occurred at Buns Police Station in Jiwaka Province. It was alleged that a detainee died in the cell after he was beaten by police.
The issue of the enforcement of basic human rights by detainees has been a concern for Justice Poole after the case was brought to him at Mount Hagen National Court. The court found that Buns' cell was condemned in 2002, but it is still in use. No proper lighting, ventilation and sanitation, and may constitute a severe health hazard to the detainees, police as well as the nearby community. Today was the third day into the inquiry. On February 15 last year, the deceased Shedrick Andrew and another man were alleged to have been badly beaten by police from Buns in Jiwaka Province. According to the terms of reference, Andrew died in the cell block from head injuries the same evening. 2 policemen involved were charged with willful murder and were sentenced last Friday by the Mount Hagen National Court to serve more than 40 years each in prison. Today, the senior magistrate and Jiwaka provincial coroner who was handling the matter at the committal court was brought in for cross-examination. Jiwaka provincial administrator Michael Wandil was also brought in. The inquiry will end next Wednesday. Basinata Yama, National EMTV News, Mount Hagen.
Meanwhile, Police Commissioner Gary Baki has been summoned to attend the inquiry in Mount Hagen. Justice Godwin Poole said today in court that Commissioner Baki may face contempt charges for disobeying the court order issued last month. Baki's lawyer told the court that arrangements have already been made and Commissioner Baki will attend the court this Wednesday. Grade 10 students in Papua New Guinea began their national examinations today. Over 200,000 students set the mathematics and physical education papers. The examinations will run until Friday.
In Port Moresby, students from 13 secondary schools sat for the exams. Dilasel in Bomana was one of the 13. With 295 students who set the exams today. It had external invigilators from nearby Marinville and Koyari Park Secondary.
We also send 2 of our teachers to go and invigilate at their schools. Yes, that's the ongoing, establishment.
De La Salle was established in 1946 by the Lasallian Catholic Brothers and has been providing education to young boys for over 70 years now. In 2005, it became a secondary school when it enrolled its first grade 11 students. This year, it registered 1,200 students, over 200 of whom are grade 10 students.
Because our hall is small to accommodate all those students, with the examination requirements of 1 meter apart. We have 2 venues, the hall and another lot doing theirs in the dining hall.
This Friday, grade 10s will be sitting for their final examination, the English paper, before they can be awarded the grade 10 certificate.
After the last exam, we are going to have a small graduation to acknowledge the successful completion of the grade 10s.
Taklagunga, National EMTV News.
Bumayong Secondary School in Leh has successfully completed day 1 of the grade 10 examinations without any disturbances after the recent clash at the school, during which a student was killed and several injured. Provincial Program Advisor for Education Keith Jiram said the deceased was suspended from school prior to his death.
Provincial Program Advisor for Education, Kiji Ram, says despite the incident at Bumayong Secondary School on Friday, most city schools have completed day one of the examinations on a high note. Parents and police officers both were present at the campus to provide security to the grade 10 students. The PPA is also appealing to PNG Power to monitor the flow of electricity to make sure there is no power interruptions during the examination period.
Because this is a very important week. Examination is going on.
Jiram's appeal came after schools were forced to use the standby generator to get the examination going.
This morning I went around the school campus and I saw certain period of times was interrupted by power cut.
Meanwhile, schools in the province who are yet to get their tuition fee for this term will be forced to send students home with assignments, while grades 8, 10 and 12 students will continue until their final examinations are completed. Mataluwis, National EMTV News, Ley.
In the autonomous region of Bougainville, 72 grade 10 students of Holy Cross High School on Nissen Island were fortunate to sit for their national examinations today. These students nearly missed out because of the bad weather that affected the delivery of their exam papers. Head teacher Alfred Sagolo, speaking to EMTV News from Nissen Island, said that examinations started on time this morning with the supervision of Thomasina Singkong. Nissen is one of those outer islands in the autonomous region of Bougainville, only accessed with sea transport. Meanwhile, grade 10 students of Caritas Technical Secondary School in Port Moresby paid tribute to one of their colleagues who died in a traffic incident. School principal Esther Mwayemwana told EMTV News that this was the first incident involving a student's death. Amongst the 135 grade 10 students who sat for their national examinations, which began today, there was a vacant seat.
These grade 10 students began their exams today by paying tribute to one of their colleagues, Anne-Marie, who was killed instantly last Wednesday in a hit-and-run traffic incident along the 2-mile road. 136 students were eligible to sit for this year's national examinations, all but one. The school's principal described this year's exams as special for Caritas after losing one of its hard-working students.
And so we feel that this examination here is kind of, special, and we, as the girls sit for the exams, I think there are a couple of girls who are sitting there with hearts that are full of remorse for their lost sister. But we've encouraged them to be strong and to, be comforted.
Mrs. Mwayemwana says her death has prompted for the need for more awareness on road safety and for educational institutions to seriously address this issue. However, responsible government institutions are to ensure disciplinary measures are applied for reckless driving and increase in road accidents.
And they should never be doing any other things. They should be focused on their going and coming, especially the traffic is quite busy in the city.
Caritas Technical Secondary School will always remember Anne-Marie, a fellow student and friend. Fabian Hakelitz, National EMTV News.
When we come back, threats of damaged roads as flooding occurs in Morbe, landowners in Lihir push for development benefits, and World Trade Forum empowers women. Details after the break. Welcome back. Flooding along the Markham continues to threaten crucial road sections of the Highlands Highway. Over the past 6 days, works teams have been working to control the flow of the Mangian River near Mutsing. But it is a temporary measure that will last only a short while.
For the past 4 weeks, villagers near Mutsing along the Markham stretch of the Highlands Highway have been tormented by flooding.
Sedimentation left by the flooding has become more problematic by the year. Their cocoa gardens have been damaged and their lives disrupted. The biggest concern is the impact the flooding is having on important road sections.
Definitely lugos the entire pavement road a colta road ogara by come out. Na big plabagara potol samplay come up in this and come up even worse.
Nath Hava, the work supervisor tasked with the maintenance and repair, has been working here for 6 days. While temporary repairs have been done, a bigger threat to infrastructure and the economic lifeline is still hidden. Behind Zumin village is the Manyang River. Sedimentation has caused the riverbed to rise at least half a meter above ground level.
So times lower west enemy come. You may look him sediments now mixed up on top na existing ground level. So this land got high chances of water overflow along all river banks.
This is a crucial section according to the Works Department. It's where much of the overflow happens. For now, the Works Department is implementing temporary measures to control the flow of water. But the officers here admit that the long-term damage to the roads could cost the government hundreds of millions of kina if the problem isn't contained. This is part of a bigger problem. While the Works Department can conduct temporary maintenance, what's needed is rehabilitation of the highway and good drainage. It's something the Works Department doesn't have money for. Scott White, National EMTV News, Leh.
Tuno Sabuin, a forester by profession, has been appointed as the National Forest Service's acting managing director. Mr. Sabuin replaces Goodwill Amos, who was acting in the position for 18 months. Sabuin was the NFS Director for Forest Development before his appointment. Mr. Amos will return to his substantive position as Manager for Climate Change and the Reducing Emissions by Deforestation and Forest Degradation Plus program. The appointment was announced by the acting NFS Chairman David Dotauna in accordance to the National Gazette.
The acting MD was appointed by NEC on the 29th of September, and he's quickly taken on board the task of assuming his responsibility. Yes, as part of that process, he's here to formally advise all of you staff members of the change.
A recent World Trade Organization public forum has emphasized the role of trade in empowering women. A session at the forum held in Geneva concluded that trade can only be truly inclusive if women worldwide are empowered. Despite the economic gains offered by trade, the session highlighted that many women lack confidence as well as technical and financial capacity to engage in trade.
Papua New Guinea was represented at the World Trade Organization Public Forum by young entrepreneur Charlene Gawi. Ms. Gawi shared a success story regarding 500 women who export locally produced string bags or bilums. She explained that a training program has helped these PNG women overcome a range of challenges. Some such challenges are the inability to enter workforce because of illiteracy or not knowing their birth dates. Participants at the 2016 WTO Public Forum agreed that a combination of capacity building, financing, government policies, and networking is needed for women to take full advantage of the opportunities offered by trade. To help women access new markets, the panel called on the international community to tackle the challenges faced by women, particularly in small and medium enterprises or SMEs. The International Trade Center introduced a new platform, shetrades.com, which promotes the role of women in business by connecting buyers with women-owned enterprises worldwide. It was also discussed that governments have a responsibility to be enablers. The WTO's Trade Facilitation Agreement can assist by stimulating cross-border trading and cutting red tape. Deli Waigeno, National EMTV News.
Papua New Guinea for the first time has been represented in the College of Cardinals by the Archbishop of Port Moresby Catholic Archdiocese, Sir John Ribat. The historical announcement was made by Pope Francis at the Vatican yesterday. Archbishop Sir John Ribat is among 17 others in the Universal Catholic Church chosen as cardinals. Now known as His Eminence Cardinal-elect Sir John Ribat, he is the first local and the sixth living cardinal from Oceania.
Indeed, a great moment of joy for Papua New Guinea, as one of its very own, Sir John Ribat, the Archbishop of the Port Moresby Archdiocese, has been chosen by the Pope as Cardinal in the Catholic Church. Apostolic Nuncio Archbishop Korean Matthew Vayalungkal and staff of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Papua New Guinea and Solomon Islands and the media congratulated His Eminence Cardinal-elect Sir John Ribat. The Apostolic Nuncio said this is truly a gift for PNG in this Jubilee Year of Mercy and the 50 years of the foundation of the dioceses in both countries. This announcement has brought joy to many, passing their congratulatory messages through platforms such as social media, Facebook. Caritas Technical Secondary School principal in Port Moresby said for a Papua New Guinean chosen as a cardinal shows the maturity of faith in the country.
I think as a Catholic, I am more than happy, and I am very, very satisfied that we should have a Papua New Guinean recognized globally. A man like Archbishop John Ribat has shown good leadership. The church has grown, and then his efforts has been recognized.
Pope Francis will elevate the new cardinals at a formal ceremony known as Consistory at the Vatican on November 19, the vigil of the conclusion of the Jubilee Year of Mercy. Fabian Hakelitz, National EMTV News.
And now looking at our finance news, the kina closed unchanged at 0.3155 US dollars in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying 0.3080 US dollars, 0.4022 Australian dollars, 0.2722 euro and 31.40 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold, coffee and copper closed higher while cocoa closed the day lower. Crude oil closed lower while palm oil and copper closed the day higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 28.01 points lower, the ASX is trading at 8.04 points higher, and the All Ordinaries is trading at 6.98 points higher. More local stories after the break. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. A landowner group in Lihir Island in the New Ireland province says they have been marginalized in most of the developments taking place on the gold mining island. The Masi Incorporated Land Group says foreigners are taking ownership over what they considered as theirs. Last Friday, the group launched its registered ILG group as a stepping stone to become active participants in the developments on the island.
The Masi Incorporated Land Group consists of traditional landowners on Lihir Island who have given up their land to the gold mine. But until recently, they have come to a realization that their lives can't go on as usual. Over the last 20 years of mining operations on the island, they have been spectators on their own land, they say. So they formed the Masi ILG with certainty to change their way of life. Last Friday, in a small yet significant ceremony, delegates from the National Lands and Physical Planning came with their ILG certificate from Waigani. In a remorseless speech, the chairman of the ILG, Peter Suar, told those who gathered that Masi ILG is certain to change their way of life, both socially and economically.
Why are we so scared? Why are we lying down and expecting people from other parts of the world coming into PNG and extracting gold, extracting natural resources which belongs to us?
Like any other resourceful areas of the country, issues deriving from the spin-off benefits have become a central concern for landowners. The marginalization of landowners on their owned land has spurred the Masi people to attain the ILG certificate as their legal representation of being the custodians of the land, and that they too are entitled to be active participants in developing their island home.
We would like to also provide an environment that when the mine goes, it's a blink of an eye and it's a normal day here on the island.
Lihir is a growing mining island. The life of the people here has changed so much over the last 20 years since the mine began. But the Masi people believe that by forming the ILG will make a much bigger difference, and that is to build a sustainable and financial independent life of their own when mining activities on the island comes to an end. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News.
Hela Province recently held a special program to establish its House of Prayer. In this amateur footage provided to EMTV, nearly 1,000 people attended the program, including Hela Governor Francis Potape. The House of Prayer will be headed by Prophet Moses Kili from Enga. Mr. Potape says the house will be used by all denominations for the purpose of praying for anything and everything. Governor Potape also mentioned that 10% of Hela's revenue will be given to churches to support the work of God. Following Potape's appointment as Hela Governor, Koroba Kopiago MP Philip Undialo filed 2 separate applications at the Waigani National and Supreme Courts to challenge the outcome. At the National Court, Undialo applied to stay Potape's appointment. The application was made on grounds that Undialo was not present during the election and the meeting was illegally conducted. While at the Supreme Court, Undialo filed to review Justice Colin McCall's decision made in September to revote a governor. Both cases are still pending at the National and Supreme Courts. A rural health officer in remote Kerma district is concerned with the decline of services in the past 4 years. Out of 4 health facilities serving people in the area, 1 has closed its doors. The officer expressed his fears when local MP Richard Mendani visited the Kamin Health Center recently.
Kamin Health Center is one of the 3 health facilities operating under deteriorating conditions to serve a population of nearly 30,000 people in the inlands of Kerma district. Many challenges remain for health workers there, however, some have stood their ground to serve the people. After years of negligence by district and provincial health authorities, all the problems hampering the delivery of basic services were expressed to local MP Richard Mendani.
All the facilities don't let me run down. Now health center now we talk police and operators and community health post. All the facilities we supposed to stop inside this health center and no more stop.
Nearly 30,000 people in the Kamin area and nearby communities are now challenged to be considerate in practicing healthy living as healthcare services scale down.
Kita need funding law, rehabilitating the housing, extending the putting some facilities going to them but moving contact law level 3 as a health center standard.
Not only health is a major concern there, the local primary school is also in dire need of infrastructures to support the school.
Light and water supply. We also need that very urgently, but because we cannot afford to get, so we just live without that.
Upon his visit, Kerma MP Richard Mendani said he will take into consideration and push the District Development Authority to help the health centers and the schools maintain their services to the people. Jack Lapave Jr., National EMTV News.
10th October every year marks the World Mental Health Day and is observed in all United Nations member countries, including Papua New Guinea. This year's focus is on providing immediate support to people who experience psychological distress after surviving a crisis. This follows the increase in humanitarian emergencies, which are linked to conflicts and natural disasters, many of whom are victims of sexual assault, violent crimes, or traumatic accidents. In PNG, the cases are not extreme compared to other developing countries in Africa and even developed nations in Europe. Confusion in politics and sports has prompted the member for Sumka, Ken Fairweather, to take the matter to court. The member says he will be taking those involved in sponsoring and hosting the recent Sumka District Games to court. This comes after another sporting event the previous weekend on Karkar Island. Fairweather says he was not informed by committee members who hosted the games. Rachel Shise reports.
Game, now me come back long Friday.
The recent Sumkar annual district games on Karkar Island was sponsored by the National Alliance Party instead of the member for Sumkar, Ken Fairweather.
The National Alliance, Minister Treasury come opening games. Honorable Patrick provides. Same time, Party Secretary Joyce Grant contributing 20,000.
44,000 kina is the total cost of running the games this year, and local businessman and chairman of the games, Atis Deme, said that wasn't enough, even though he chipped in 4,000 kina from his business.
We play still short, long almost 18 to 19,000. But halfway we play a complete team game.
Co-sponsoring the games with 5,000 kina is the former Chief Justice, Se Anol Ahmed, who's a Karkar Islander himself.
Local member, Honorable Ken Fairweather, Bill Golong, the presidents. May happy almost assist him, support him. This is a very, very important program. You know, belong one plan, you know politics, you know one of something. It's all about young people.
The member for Sumkar, Ken Fairweather, in a phone interview today responded that his office wasn't informed or consulted about the games until after it was launched. As a result, he will be filing a court order. The Sumkar District Games attracted more than 5,000 people from the Sumgilba, LRG and Karkar Island itself. The original motive behind the games is to promote unity for the people of Sumkar and keep the young people busy and away from illegal activities. Despite minor hiccups, the games ended without disruptions.
Senior Sergeant Yok Kupeng Wantem, Senior Adam Yawing, Long Sumgilba, not our patrol come contribute. The Halwin, the local team, and people running this big game.
Rachel Shise, National EMTV News, Madang.
Turning overseas now and to the latest on the U.S. elections. Republican nominee Donald Trump faced off with Democrat nominee Hillary Clinton during the second presidential debate. It was described as the nastiest, most bitterly personal presidential debate. Both candidates refused to shake each other's hands. Here's part of the debate. The candidates were asked how they would solve the war in Syria.
You do differently than President Obama is doing?
Martha, I hope that by the time I hope by the time I am president that we will have pushed ISIS out of Iraq. I do think that there is a good chance that we can take Mosul. And, you know, Donald says he knows more about ISIS than the generals. No, he doesn't. There are a lot of very important planning going on, and some of it is to signal to the Sunnis in the area, as well as Kurdish Peshmerga fighters, that we all need to be in this, and that takes a lot of planning and preparation. I would go after Baghdadi. I would specifically target Baghdadi, because I think our targeting of al-Qaeda leaders, and I was involved in a lot of those operations, highly classified ones, made a difference. So I think that could help. I would also consider arming the Kurds. The Kurds have been our best partners in Syria as well as Iraq. And I know there's a lot of concern about that in some circles, but I think they should have the equipment they need so that Kurdish and Arab fighters on the ground are the principal way that we take Raqqa after pushing ISIS out of Iraq.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on.
It's funny, she went over a minute over, and you don't stop her. When I go 1 second over, it's like
you
a
had
big deal.
many answers.
It's really very interesting.
We've got a question over here from James Carter. Mr. Carter?
My question is, do you believe you can be a devoted president to all the people in the United States?
That question begins for Mr. Trump.
Absolutely. I mean, she calls our people deplorable, a large group, and irredeemable. I will be a president for all of our people, and I'll be a president that will turn our inner cities around and will give strength to people and will give economics to people and will bring jobs back, because NAFTA, signed by her husband, is perhaps the greatest disaster trade deal in the history of the world.
10 days of live-fire military exercises by the Saudi Arabia Navy came to an end on Sunday. The exercises took place in the Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz and the Sea of Oman, and come as tensions simmer between Saudi Arabia and its regional rival Iran. Tehran and Riyadh are fighting several proxy wars in the Middle East, including in Syria and Yemen, but both have been cautious about direct military confrontation.
The Gulf is a strategically important waterway with as much as 30% of the world's seaborne traded oil, about 17 million barrels per day, moving through the Strait of Hormuz in 2013, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration. Warships, speedboats, Air Navy aircraft, Marine Corps and Special Security Naval units took part, according to the state-run Saudi press agency. The maneuvers are aimed at testing combat readiness in preparation for the protection of marine interests of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia against any possible aggression. Sunni Muslim Saudi Arabia is concerned by the growing clouds in the region of Shiite Iran, which has emerged from years of international economic sanctions following a deal over its nuclear program signed by Tehran and world powers in 2015. Saudi Arabia is leading a coalition of Muslim countries backed by the United States, Britain and France in a war in neighboring Yemen. The campaign, aimed at restoring a government ousted by Iran-allied militia, is part of a more assertive effort by Riyadh since last year to counter Iran's influence. Iran's powerful Revolutionary Guards, or IRGC, had warned Saudi naval vessels taking part in military exercises in the Gulf last Wednesday not to get close to Iranian waters, in a sign of heightened tensions between the two regional rivals. Lorraine Gabina, EMTV World News.
Chukai Sports is next. The ugly face of violence rears itself again in another rugby league match. We'll be back with the details.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome to Chukai Sports. Over the weekend, during the Motu Koita Rugby League 9's tournament, an unfortunate turn of events transpired during the match between Poraporana Brothers and Poraporana Diho. Motu Koita Rugby League president echoed statements made by Sports Minister Justin Techenko and others on zero tolerance to violence in sports.
Brother teams Poraporana Diho and Poraporana Brothers got into a fight during the finals after a Poraporana Diho try scorer was kicked in the face. At the start of the competition, President Pipi Daibo's announcement of zero tolerance on violence during the course of the tournament was made clear.
One of our objectives of this, our organization, is that we will stress and emphasize on zero tolerance to sports violence. And so long as I'm, at the helm, being the president or chairman of the Motu Koita Rugby League Association, I will really stress on zero tolerance on sports violence.
He said personal development will be encouraged in the Motu Koita League in order to address sports violence.
And also I expect, with this tournament, we're hoping to bring some personal development to all the players and even the officials as well, so that when they go back to their communities, they must ensure that, contribute to reducing social issues, social problems within our respective communities.
This kind of behavior may now limit their chances in having a team in the Intercity Cup competition. Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
The Karamoe District Administration in the Simbu Province is supporting Schoolboys Rugby League. The district administration is building a field at Salt LLG for the purpose of developing the code at the schoolboys level. Karamoe MP Mogerema Way says the Papua New Guinea Rugby Football League must give out a calendar for the schoolboys competition. The construction of the field began about 3 months ago and work is still in progress. Schoolboys Rugby League in the district hasn't reached its full potential because of the remoteness of the district. All primary schools in the area will take part in the competition once the field is ready. The Hetura Sevens tournament of the Export Sevens ended successfully on the weekend, with the teams now ready to take on the National Provincial Championship tournament this weekend. Tournament Director Silosi Druma says the highlight of the Export Sevens will be the inclusion of the women's teams. The two-day competition will be broadcast live on EMTV, with the games to start this Friday.
Since the beginning of the first leg of the Export Sevens tournament in Rabaul, the second leg was played in Goroka in the Two-Light Sevens competition, while the third leg, the Saragat Sevens, was played in Leh. The last leg over the weekend in the Hetura Sevens matches saw 20 men's and 6 women's teams compete for the top spot to earn a place in this weekend's National Provincial Championships. Tournament Director Silosi Druma said from the 4 legs of the Export Sevens tournament, winners will get direct entry into the National Provincial Championships.
So we've got 12 provincial teams, and then we've got the 4 winners from each stop, so to make it 16. And then we've got all the small associations that are also taking part, like Ungai Bena from Goroka, Tabuville, Western Province, Manus, Alotau, who are actually still, trying to organize themselves together to be full member of Papua New Guinea Football Union.
He says women's involvement in this weekend's NPC Sevens tournament will be the highlight of this competition as part of women's involvement into rugby union.
Because the Export 7 series is only for the men, but we want to include them to also participate in the NPC, and also where we've been throughout the country, we've also allowed the women to take part. But for them, is basically to have them play and participate alongside the men.
Druma said the main aim of the NPC Sevens tournament is to select top players for their 3 international matches next month.
For next week's event, it's a big one for them because we have the selectors to finalize the team that's going to Fiji for the 15th. It's a World Cup qualifier, a 1 match against Fiji, and also the Oceania Sevens Championship, where the women and men will be taking part also.
Godbineki, National EMTV Sports.
Still in rugby union, the All Blacks have bagged 17 victories and counting. The New Zealand side showed brilliance when they shattered South Africa with a massive 57-15 victory in Durban, South Africa yesterday. They are level now with a world record they have reached twice previously, along with the South African side of 1997 to 1998.
The South African Springboks and the New Zealand All Blacks are 2 worlds apart, as proven by the 42 points margin. For the New Zealand side, despite Aaron Smith's toilet affair, it was a perfect completion of the Rugby Championship. A total of 9 tries with scorers Israel Dag, Bodin Barrett and TJ Perenara, who replaced Aaron Smith. The home side Springboks could not bring on a proper comeback as the All Blacks scored 1 try after another. As the visitors showed depth of skill and game awareness, the South African side could not match up to that level of play. A distraught Springboks coach Alistair Coetzee expressed his disappointment after the match.
You look at the All Blacks and how they move without the ball, and when they have the ball into position. That's where they beat us constantly. I know what we need to fix, but I would also like to know from other top coaches in the country if they, agree or concur that these are the skill sets that we're lacking or we need to improve on as a country. Just as a South African nation, we've gone through a hell of a lot on the sport field, off the sport field. So it's embarrassing, like I said today, but we will definitely stand up and fight.
Generos Raiko, National EMTV Sports.
Trukai Sports continues with results from the Port Moresby soccer competition. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. In football, Munkas has taken the Port Moresby Soccer Association FA Cup final in both the men's and women's divisions. In the women's divisions, Munkas defeated Guria by 3-1, whilst in the men's grand final, a single goal separated the two sides as Munkas men's defeated Yamaros.
It was an ominous opening for Yamaros, as against the early run of plays, there were multiple corners for Munkas after 14 minutes, with no breakthrough. And despite counter-attacks by Yamaros on the dusty pitch, it was the men in green who had more attempts on goal. Basil Jafari, who proved to be the most dangerous player on the pitch with his movement. A physical encounter with running repairs for Munkas winger Elton Banham as the match peaked in intensity. Midway through the second half, Jafari had his appeal for a handball waved away by the referee. There was little respite in the game's intensity as the pace began to take its toll on some of the players. Jafari, who had been outstanding throughout the match, had easily the best chance of the game to seal it for his side, but for uncharacteristic indecisiveness in front of goal. He did, however, have the chance to redeem himself, as with only 8 minutes remaining from full time, a handball inside the box led to a penalty. The final score, 1-0 in favour of Munkas. Earlier in the day, in the women's decider, Munkas had a 3-1 win over Guria. Jeremy Moggy, National EMTV Sports.
FIFA has announced the referees and assistant referees who will officiate at the forthcoming FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup in PNG. From 32 different countries, 16 women's referees and 27 assistants will take charge of the matches. The World Cup will be held in Port Moresby from the 13th of November to the 3rd of December. The final will be played on the 3rd of December at the National Football Stadium. And that ends Trukai Sports. The weather details when we come back.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
Your weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. In the southern region, fine and sunny in Port Moresby, Daru, Kerema and Alatau, and a chance of rain showers in Popondetta. In the Momase region, rain showers with chances of thunderstorms in Ley, chances of rain showers in Medang, chances of brief showers in Wewak and brief showers in Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, few showers in Lorengau, a shower or two in Kavieng, rain showers with thunderstorms in Kokopo, Rabaul and Kimbe, and brief showers in Buka. And in the Highlands region, fine and sunny in all centres. Forecast for small ships for the next 24 hours, strong wind warning current for all coastal waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerema to Yule Island to Hood Point, including Finschhafen through Vitia Strait, Siasi Islands to Long Island to Karkar Island to Medang to Bogia to Wewak and also West New Britain. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerema to Yule Island to Hood Point, with waters of Finschhafen through Vitia Strait, Siasi Islands to Long Island to Karkar Island to Medang to Bogia to Wewak, seas of 2.5 to 3 meters. Waters east of Hood Point to Samarai Island, seas of 1.5 to 2 meters. Waters of eastern and western Milne Island with waters of Cape Vogel to Finschhafen with waters of Sipik, west of Wewak to Aitape to Vanimo and the northern PNG Indonesian border, and with waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas of 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters of New Ireland to East New Britain and Bougainville, seas of 1.5 to 1.3 meters. And waters of West New Britain, seas of 1.5 to 3 meters. Ocean forecast for PNG areas in the Coral Sea, seas rough with southeast winds at 25 to 34 knots. Solomon Sea, seas slight with southeast winds at 10 to 15 knots. Bismarck Sea, seas moderate to rough with southeast winds at 15 to 20 knots. And in the Pacific Ocean, seas slight with southeast to easterly winds at 10 to 15 knots.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield, with doing with Dulux.
Before we go, a quick look on our stories making headlines. Commission of Inquiry launched in Hagen. Grade 10 sit for exams and flooding threatens Highlands Highway. And that's how we wrap up this Monday's news, sports and weather. On behalf of the EMTV National News Team, pleasant viewing. Good night.